Welcome back, friends. It's good to see you again. This week, we're going to continue in the book of Matthew, and we're going to be talking about the parable of the sower. Have you guys had that lesson before? I'm sure some of you have, but let's go ahead and talk about it today. The same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it while the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, "A farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some fell along the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on the rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no root. Other seeds fell among the thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still other seed fell on the good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear." What does this parable mean? Do you guys know what it means? What do you think all these demonstrations that Jesus was talking about meant? Let's go over them again. So we had a farmer, he sowed seed. Some fell on the path, the birds ate them. Then we had the ones that fell on the rocks and they got scorched by the sun. Others fell in the thorns and they weren't able to grow because the thorns were there and they kind of got choked out. And then we have the good soil, where the plant was able to grow, get enough sunlight, get watered, and became something beautiful and useful. So what does that mean? Well, later on in the chapter, Jesus actually explains to us what the parable he told us means. Listen to what the parable of the sower means. We're going to go ahead and go through this one more time. "When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart." So that is what he's talking about when it comes to the birds. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and once receives it with joy. But since they have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word, they quickly fall away. The seed falling among the thorns refers to someone who hears the word, but worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth and chokes on the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on the good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. So what are some examples that we can think of today that we could see in today's world? So birds eating seed, like Jesus says, they don't understand the word of God. They try to grasp it. So an example might be a person who's going to church, but it goes in one ear and then it goes out the other. They hear it, but they don't grasp it. The seeds on the rocks, people getting excited about the word of God, but there's no foundation in what they are reading or learning. When challenges arrive, they have no foundation. And we know that when we have troubles in life or going through a hard time, we need God. And so God is our foundation. So when somebody doesn't make God their foundation, when they go through hard times, it can really be hard for them because they don't have that strong foundation or that strong faith in God. They're kind of walking through it alone. And we know that we need God when we're going through hard times. Seeds among thorns, people who get distracted by the world. So this might be someone who goes to church, but maybe while they're in Eastside, kids are in the service, they're just thinking about what's for lunch. And they're getting caught up in the world, and they're maybe thinking about things that they need to do when they get home, things that need to get done next week, things that they didn't do. So they're just very distracted. And then like the thorns, they're entwined in all the things that they either missed or that they don't want to miss, that they're not even really paying attention to the word of God. And then seeds in the good soil, listening to the word and allowing it to impact our hearts and lives. So that's going to church, listening to the message, participating in the activities of Eastside kids, and wanting to learn and really taking the message and what we're learning to heart. So I brought a little prop with me today. This is a giant amaryllis, and as you can see, it's a pretty sad looking plant, right? So we're talking about planting today, right? Good seeds, bad seeds. But one thing I also want to talk about is what happens if a seed's planted in bad soil, right? Luckily today, we can replant soil, or we can replant seeds, which you can back then as well. Jesus talks about that as well. You know, just because a seed's planted in bad soil, if we realize that it's not planted in a good spot, we can uproot it and we can plant it somewhere else, help nurture it and help to grow it. So this plant looks like it needs a little bit of a second chance, right? If you guys can see these little green things, these are actually buds. So this plant still has a chance. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and give this a second chance. We're just going to go ahead and break off the dead parts. And there we go. It's looking a little bit better. It's still a little bit scraggly. But what I need to do now, my job is to make sure to get this in some nice new soil, maybe get a nice big pot where it has lots of room to grow so that this thing can bud again and be something really beautiful. So if we maybe feel like we're, not in the best spot, or might not be getting the light or the water, the nutrition that we need, then we should uproot ourselves and find a place that will give us everything that we need. And God gives us everything that we need. So we want to make sure our roots are really deep in Him. An activity I have for you guys this week is, even though it's in kind of winter, when the dead of winter, it's really cold, doesn't seem like a lot of things are growing right now, I want you to go ahead and take a nature walk and just look at some of the trees and the plants that are out in the winter. I wish I would have had a prop for this, but one thing that you guys can do, if you guys see twig branches, on trees or anything, break a little piece off and then very carefully peel back the bark on that plant, and inside you should see something green. That's called the wick of the plant, and that shows that the plant is still alive. Even though it has no leaves, it looks kind of dead, there's still a lot of life going through its roots. Thank you guys for joining me, and it looks like I need to get this baby in some good soil. See you next week.